Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ushanka Show, stories about life in the Soviet Union. And just in case, if you're new to my channel, my name is Sergei Sputnikov, and back in 1971, I was born in the USSR.
I would watch your show more if you would stop rambling. You could get the same info and quality of content in your videos by cutting 2/3 of the blah, blah, blahing you do.
So recently I made several videos about velosipedy, Soviet bicycles, and once again YouTube never ceased to amaze me. My first video got 28,000 views, while my second video on exactly the same topic got only 6,000 views. I have no idea why YouTube does it, but anyway. And today we're gonna talk about motorized bicycles, so-called mopeds, and that's how I call them in Russian language, Mopedy. And before we begin, I would like to remind you that you support my work with your likes, with your comments, with your super thanks. You can become a member of my channel, and also you can support my work on patreon.com. And let's go. Okay, so I would like to begin my story with the moped Verhovina-5, Highland 5. And the main reason why I want to tell you about this particular moped is because my grandfather Sergei, so that's a grandpa on my mother's side, owned this moped in the late 70s, early 80s. And some of you may recognize this photo. I show it periodically in my videos. So this is Verhovina-5, my grandfather's moped, and Comrade Sergei posing on it proudly, sometimes around 1980 or 1981, barefoot, bleach blonde hair, just another summer day in northern Ukraine. This moped was assembled in the western Ukraine in Lviv at the factory called LMZ, Lvivsky Motozavod. Same factory also assembled children's bicycle Zayka that I mentioned in my previous video about Soviet bicycles. Many Soviet moped enthusiasts agree that Verhovina-5 was probably one of the best looking Soviet era mopeds, and the main reason it actually looked more like a motorcycle than a moped. So it had this kind of mini bike look. For example, here you're looking at Verhovina-4, the previous generation moped that was manufactured between 1972 and 1974. So you could see there's quite a bit of difference. Verhovina-5 moped featured 2.2 horsepower engine called Ash-57, which had pedals in order to start it. So you pedal it just like a bicycle, which I remember I always found so weird, that moped that looked like a motorcycle, but you have to pedal it to get the engine going. It had extra long leather seat with the storage under it, and the fuel tank contained 7.5 liters of gasoline. You have to mix it with oil, of course, and 7.5 liters, it's about 2 gallons. Its cruising speed was about 30 miles per hour, and I remember my cousin and we managed to get it going to 37 miles per hour going downhill, two of us, so it's about 60 kilometers an hour, so it wasn't really a powerful moped. And a nice thing about mopeds, it didn't require any specific driver's license, so any teenager could ride it without any specific permit. So these mopeds, they'll be quite often grandparents would gift it to grandchildren as a birthday present when they turn 16 or something. Another interesting feature of Verhovina-5 was chrome fenders before they were painted. And it had this interesting logo on the front fender, which I remember. It looks like Peugeot. This moped wasn't cheap. It was retailing for 200 rubles. And once again, it's really hard to compare apples to apples. But at that time, my grandfather's pension was 25 rubles per month. My grandma's was even less, 12 rubles per month. So based on my grandpa's pension, it's 8 monthly pensions. And if you just take an average Social Security payment in America right now, which is $1,650 times 8 months, this moped would be $13,000 if you compare average Social Security to my grandfather pension. But if you do rubles to vodka to dollars conversion, it's about 40 bottles of vodka, so 40 times $20, so it's about $800 in vodka currency. I believe the main reason my grandpa decided to purchase this expensive moped is because he was getting too old to ride the bicycle to the grocery store. He lived about 2 kilometers away from the so-called downtown of that village, so getting around was getting hard using the bicycle, so he decided to buy this Verhovina. And in the summer he let his grandkids to ride his moped. Of course I was way too young to do it myself, but my cousin Alexander, who was quite older than me. That was his main transportation and toy during a summer vacation in the village. And in the end, he ended up inheriting that moped after my grandfather passed away. If we talk about quality of these mopeds, I don't think they were that great. I remember my cousin always had a hard time to starting these mopeds. And I remember seeing he was pedaling so hard this moped just to get the engine fired up, and it looks really silly. You know, there's this device that looked like a motorcycle, but the guy just pedaling it so hard to get the engine starting up. And maybe it was engine issues, a filter, or maybe just the poor quality of the fuel, because we didn't have a gas station in our village, and gasoline could be only purchased from the collective farm drivers. And actually, let's listen to the sound of moped Verhovina-5. I think it sounds like a chainsaw. Unfortunately, I had no idea what happened to that moped of my grandpa. My cousin probably later sold it, but now those Verhovina-5 and earlier models became a hot collector's items. People looking for them in original condition without any newer parts. And it's like now it's a hot ticket again. And just like the bicycles, the mopeds were more popular out in the country, in the villages, because picture if you're having a hard time to get your bicycle up on the 3rd or 4th floor in your apartment building, try to get moped. It's way more heavy. It's just a pain in the butt to store it. So I saw mopeds only out in the villages, not in the city. By the mid-80s, even in the Soviet Union, mopeds were losing its popularity, but the factory was making around 300,000 mopeds in the early 1980s. And it slowly went downhill from there. And of course now that factory doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so in my next video, we're going to review the other models manufactured in Lvov Motor Factory. As well, we're going to look at some mopeds that were manufactured in Riga, Latvia. And once again, thank you so much for watching Ushanka Show. Don't forget to like this video, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye.